Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. This video is going to be me talking about a topic that I saw going around a few days ago or last week, talking about Power Rangers, and should Power Rangers go mainstream, or the idea of Power Rangers going mainstream. I think especially in the wake of the reboot coming up, people have been talking about this for a while, of like what this is going to mean for PR in terms of the reboot, like what kind of audience is going to try to reach. Now, talking about like PR going mainstream, I think for me, when I think about that, I think about two things. I think about like mainstream success, like it becoming popular and likable enough to find a larger audience and just becoming a more mainstream known thing. And then there's also the mainstream aspect of becoming more appealing to the mainstream, changing the way it does things to try to be more palatable to more people, to general audiences. I mean, I'm sure you've heard those words and buzzwords about a lot of franchises and trying to be more broadly appealing to a wider audience and all that type of stuff. And I think those are the two things that I usually think of, and that's what I want to discuss about. Is that the best thing for Power Rangers? I mean, I think yes and no. If you guys know my videos at all, you know that my opinions tend to be very different than a lot of the fandoms in terms of what I think and what I want, and everyone's going to have a different take. And I think with every franchise, no matter what it is, whether it's a movie or a comic book or a TV show, there's going to be certain things that some people value about that more than others. Like everyone's going to say, like, this is my most favorite thing about the franchise, but then someone else is going to say, well, this is my most favorite thing, and that doesn't mean either one is wrong. I think the trouble we get into when we discuss, like, getting a larger audience or gaining any new type of audience or any type of reboot is some fans can be gatekeepy, whether they intend to or not, about like, I think the franchise should only be this 4 things and I want it just for myself and you can't have it. And that's kind of the vibe I get from a lot of the discussions about Power Rangers going mainstream. And it can be a complicated topic for a lot of franchises about what really makes that franchise that franchise. I'm like of a weirdly different mind, and it's not just because of Power Rangers. In almost every franchise I follow to any degree, whenever I hear about a reboot or a reimagining, I want them to go different as possible. I want them to go the complete opposite way because I'm not interested in seeing the same thing again. And for better or worse, I find it more creatively interesting to see different people's interpretation of things, like taking the concept or the loose concept of a franchise and doing something really different and really seeing someone else's point of view on it and not trying to, like, one of my least favorite phrases, honor the source material or respect the source material, because to me that's just saying, work within this box or else. That's what I'm always hearing when I hear that. I'm a bit different minded on that. Now, PR is in a unique situation because it is a very unique brand. It is, in the tokusatsu format, although I don't really usually think of PR as toku as much as I do. I think it's just because of how growing up with it, not knowing what toku is. But anyway, it's in the tokusatsu format, which isn't really a thing here, compared to in Japan. And also, on top of that, the primary aspect of it in terms of the main show is adapting Japanese footage, which is something that really isn't done anywhere else or done anymore or both. And it's really this niche thing. And a lot of people say that the tokusatsu format and the adaptation format is what makes PR unique. And that is absolutely true. That is something that makes PR unique at its foundation for sure. But for me personally, that's not what I love most about it and not what is most important to me. I think it's an important part of history, absolutely, and what makes PR unique, but I think, at least in certain avenues, it needs to grow beyond that, and I think that there's various ways we could tackle this in regards to PR going mainstream. Now, again, if you've seen my videos before, you know me. If it were up to me, I would be totally fine with us ditching the Toku format and the adaptation format, getting rid of Sentai ties. I mean, we're always going to have ties to Sentai because we're always going to have a partnership with Toei in terms of, like, using old designs. But what I mean is no more adaptations, like, completely break away. That would be me. If it was just me, if I had a genie wish that would go wrong, because like genie wishes always have catches, but that's not what this is about. But I would want to separate us as much as possible. But that doesn't mean that's the only way. Maybe that's probably not the smartest way in a lot of ways. I just said that's a ways just way too many times. You know what I mean? Anyway, here's the thing. I think for the reboot, they do need to go different. And I think that it's the smartest choice to try to make it more mainstream appealing. And like it's funny because a lot of the stuff people like fear, like, oh, they're going to try to make it more mainstream with like CGI and better effects and it's not going to feel like Toku at all. I'm like, that sounds great. But where can I sign up for that? I think that the reboot universe should take a direction like that. Not only to become more widely appealing, but also to do something different. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't continue the Toku version of the show with the current show. I mean, right now, it seems like things might have changed, and maybe they will be continuing it. And maybe that would be the smart play, to have their reboot world be this new mainstream thing, and then keep the niche version off to the side, both for kids and the hardcore fans that like that niche version. And then you kind of have the best of both worlds, Hannah Montana style. I actually almost think it would be cool if, they did end the main live-action universe format with Cosmic Fury, went forward with the reboot for a while, really expand that out, and then bring back a version of the more traditional Power Rangers as a part of the ecosystem later, and let kind of nostalgia and fondness build up for it, and then also maybe build a larger fan base, and then create like a even better version of the live-action Toku format. And then that might open people up to it. Like, you might gain these new mainstream fans for this new, more like modernized version, and then you come out with a new, better Toku version, and then they'll be willing to check it out because they're PR fans now. And then that might inspire them to actually be interested in some more Toku-related stuff, because that's sometimes how things will happen with me in certain franchises or characters or whatever that I didn't usually like, and then they came out with a different version that opened up a window into the franchise, that because it was more appealing to me, and then it inspired me to check out more about it. Like Star Trek, for example. I didn't used to be a big Star Trek fan, and I really liked the new movies because a lot of the older fans didn't, because they were kind of more modern movies. But that was something that clicked more with me, and that inspired me to check out older Trek. And now I really appreciate and love the old Trek format as well. And I think that new takes on things that maybe are more appealing to the mainstream, or more appealing to a different section of people, can open up a window for them to possibly appreciate the other aspects. And I think only wanting it to stay this niche lane cuts that off completely, especially for Power Rangers, because Power Rangers is like a niche fandom on a niche fandom. Like, Power Rangers itself as a franchise has a decent, or at least a decent-ish size fan base if you're talking about all the casuals. But compared to other franchises, like talking about the hardcore fans, it has a relatively small hardcore fandom, and compared to something like Star Wars or Transformers, in terms of the people that like are Toku enthusiasts and watch Sentai and follow all that and check out other Toku, like that's a relatively small fan base comparatively. And if we only continue to strive for that, it's not going to grow. And I think, honestly, it's understandable why that format wouldn't be appealing to the mainstream, because it can be kind of embarrassing, to be honest, and I don't think that would be the route to go for the reboot. Now, when talking about mainstream success too, I personally, never say never with like anything like this, because stranger things have happened, including Stranger Things. I never think that PR will become like a juggernaut. Like, I don't ever see it. I think it's like next to impossible for it to become a name like a real deal franchise like Star Wars or Marvel. I think at most, like, if all the stars align, we could see something like close, like just below Transformers success. I think it has that type of power. And that's the thing about Power Rangers, is that I think it has a lot of potential. That's why I do want to see it try to become more broadly appealing and take a different direction, because outside of the niche aspects and the Toku aspects, if you set that all aside, I think the core concept and the universe, or a version of the universe, actually has a lot of potential appeal. We see franchises that they've had their starts and stops, but like Transformers and Turtles, to me, are very comparative, because they kind of are along that same line of like franchises that you grew up with, and then they stay around, and they have staying power for new generations and older generations, and they've had more mature and different takes all along the line. And I think PR sits alongside those in a similar category, and I don't think it's enjoyed as much success because it's been stuck in this niche box on top of a niche box, and I think it has potential. And so I do think PR should go mainstream to a degree. To be honest, that's just what I want. And I understand the people not wanting it, because it's kind of like that old adage with not just franchises, but stuff even like food companies or restaurants. When they become mainstream or corporate or whatever, they lose their identity, and I understand not wanting to lose that. I think that, for me, I think it would be a good thing for PR to broaden its horizons. I want to see PR be more successful, and I'm interested to see a different take. Even though the show's been on the upswing a little bit, and I think there's a lot to be positive about in terms of the current version, I'm still really interested to see some different takes. But I definitely think it would be valuable to, at some point, keep aspects of the niche format around. Maybe not in the reboot, but to have a version of the show, whether continuing now or down the line, that might pay homage to that. Or maybe like a special every now and then. That could be cool. Reboot universe, more mainstream, superhero show, animated show, and then every now and then you have the iCarly special, classic PR Toku version. I don't know, I just wanted to do an iCarly special joke, like 5 people will get that. But anyway, what do you guys think about to which degree do you want to see PR become more broadly appealing, if at all? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.